Welcome back to the Tilted Crown Gourmet. I've been away for the last few weeks on a European vacation. Had an amazing time. If you want to know more about that, switch on over to the Tilted Crown Gourmet Travels channel. Anyway, back home, back in the kitchen. The first dish we're going to be making is chicken and dumplings, which happens to come from a book that my mother and I wrote a few years ago called Expressions of Love. No, not a sales pitch. Happens to be a family-only recipe book so we could memorialize recipes that have come from generation to generation. Anyway, back to this video. So in the video, you're gonna see an abridged version because I had already made some chicken broth that I had in the freezer that I used for this dish. In the description, however, you're gonna get step-by-step instructions explaining to you how to make not only the chicken and dumplings, but how to make the chicken broth as well. So let's get some prep done and let's get cooking. So normally with this dish, how we would start it is by making the chicken broth. However, I had some in the freezer, which I had made already. But if you didn't already have chicken broth made, what you would do is you would get a whole chicken, about 5 to 7 pounds. You put in a pot about 6 cups of water, and then you're gonna put in 4 carrots. You're gonna put in a bunch of thyme, and you're gonna put onion. I usually use the yellow onion, and I don't even peel it. The skin and everything can go in because you're gonna drain it off later, and a fennel bowl. But since I already have my broth ready, I'm just gonna add my broth to my pot, and then I'm gonna add my chicken and let that cook for about 45 minutes because I want it to be at a point where I can shred it. At that point, we're gonna continue.
If you already have your chicken stock made, go ahead and add that to a pot.
And to that, we're gonna go ahead and add some boneless, skinless thighs.
But you can use a 5 to 7 pound whole chicken. Next, dice 4 carrots and set aside. Dice your onion and add it to your carrots. Dice your bulb of fennel and add it to your onions and carrots.
Okay, so the chicken is done. So your next step is you're gonna use Better Than Bouillon. I use about a teaspoon-ish. Add that to our stock. Then I add 2 cans of cream of chicken soup.
After you've shredded your chicken, place it back in your pot of broth along with your vegetables. Now bring your broth up to a boil. Dice up your fresh thyme and set aside.
Okay, so before I forget, always save all of your vegetable trimmings. Get them, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer because it's gonna make amazing stock later. So for the dumplings, we're gonna have 2 cups of flour, and then I have 1 teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of pepper, and also a teaspoon of ground thyme. And we're gonna all put that into the flour. A half a cup of cold water, an egg, and 1/4 of a cup of shortening. I use Crisco. So you're gonna get your dough and put it onto a lightly floured surface, and we're gonna knead it a little bit. So after you've rolled it out, it's gonna be about 1/4 inch thick. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut them into squares. So in the meantime, we've gotten our soup up to a boil. And then we're gonna drop these in. Be careful not to overcrowd them because you don't want them to all clump together. And this is a homemade soup. Things don't have to be perfect. So you're just gonna get your dumplings, carefully drop them in to your boiling soup. You don't want to splash, so you're just gonna put them in and then just let them slowly sink.
After you've added your dumplings to your broth, reduce the temperature to a simmer and let it simmer for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, turn off your heat, put in your fresh thyme, serve. Garnish with additional fresh thyme, and bon appetit.